Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today we're starting off in the nether wart farm because I am running a little bit low on nether brick supplies for roofing the castle, which has been coming along very well, and today we're actually going to add a few extra things to that roof. So we're going to be looking at dormer windows, which are kind of a popular feature of castles, especially if you're looking at slightly more modern castles, but I feel like the roofs of these castles need a few of these just to make them stand out a little bit more and to give the castle a little bit more access to light from outside. A lot of the windows right now are very small. They're kind of like the arrow slit style of window, or there aren't any windows at all. And while skylight isn't necessarily going to be useful for us mechanically, it will certainly be nice to have it from a visual standpoint. Really make the castle feel like it uses that light from the day, especially considering that as far as lighting solutions for a castle goes, we're pretty much just stuck with torches and then concealing lighting after that, until we get lanterns, which should hopefully not be too far away at this point. But what I've actually been doing with this farm is, as you just saw, fortuning all of the nether wart beforehand, because that actually allows you to still collect it using the cascading water streams here, but does kind of guarantee that you get a little bit more nether wart for your plants. So I'm going to go ahead and replant the rest of this. I've been doing this every so often so that it grows. I've been smelting down a whole bunch more netherrack with the super smelter that we have over at the Vulcan's Forge blacksmith, and pretty soon I think it will probably be time to start on our second blacksmith, because I think my kelp farm is very close to being completely full of kelp, which means we need to start smelting some of that, turn that into kelp blocks that we can then use as fuel in its own right, and oh boy, we're going to have a lot of fuel at that point. And so a few more stacks of red nether brick later, it's time to go and take a look at the castle roofs, because I've been doing a little bit more work on the roofs. Like I said, a few of them still need to get done, but this whole place is looking a little bit more put together, and this roof here, the roof of the Great Hall, was added quite recently, and I think it kind of looks a little bit plain right now. I mean, it's just a big version of some of the other roofs that we've got around here, and it needs some stuff to help it stand out. It is this delightful C shape, or U shape, or V shape, whichever way you want to put it, but it does need a couple of things adding in. And in the center here, I do want to add a large kind of roof dormer that's going to give a little bit of light to the room below, and this hall is probably going to be divided up into different sections. Quite aside from the fact that we have the giant door here, I do want to have like a section at the back that is boxed off a little bit so that we have some more private chambers up in here, maybe a couple of, I don't know, offices or something like that, that the castle administrators can do their work in whilst everybody down here feasts in the Great Hall. And then I'm thinking we're definitely going to move the nether portal down to a basement level that's going to be a little bit more secretive, and it will mean emerging from that basement level anytime you return from the nether, but that's just something we're going to have to work with for the immersion of the whole area. So let's grab a few ender pearls, let's make sure we've got a decent supply of red and regular nether brick on us, and let's talk about making some roof dormers, because a few of these roofs can benefit from them, particularly the ones where we've got a long straight area. The roof dormers aren't going to look too good on these rounded castle tower type roofs, although we might end up doing something with one or two of them here and there if we can spare the space on some of them. But these gatehouse towers, not so much, and they've already got some open air access around the outside, so we don't need to worry too much about them. However, if we come up here with the fireworks for a second and take a look at it from the top, there we go, get up into the air. Definitely that roof there needs one, maybe one or two of these large angled roofs need some as well, like this one here, and potentially that one there could have a window on the opposite side from where we are now, so it kind of sticks out a little bit more. Now, if you want to center a roof dormer, it probably helps if you start with an odd numbered roof line. So I think in this case we do have a couple of odd numbered roofs here. I think that is the center of this one. That one there's got a center as well, and this here obviously has a single block length down the middle there. That means that's an odd number as well. I think those should be perfect. And then around the sides here, where I've been working on a couple of other roofs, I think this one here could potentially benefit from a little bit of extension via a roof dormer as well. The problem with this one, however, is that this section of the roof here is an even number. So there are a couple of little tricks we can use to make that look good, but generally speaking, if it comes to a point, then it's going to be a lot easier to do that with a single block middle section, like if it's an odd numbered build, then it is going to be with an even number build where you have 2 blocks in the center of something. It doesn't tend to look as pointy, I suppose. For the tower roofs, instead of a dormer, what you could end up doing is something a little bit more like this section here that I've got on the side of this tower. It kind of comes out for a little satellite, a separate tower. Maybe not a satellite tower, that might be completely removed from it, but you know what I mean? Just like a baby tower stuck onto the side of a tower roof like this, supported underneath with the main tower structure. I think that stuff is going to look a little bit better than just applying an archway to the side of one of those tower roofs. And unless you've got a nice giant wide one, maybe even that one up there, although that's kind of weird because it's on an even number kind of base, but you could potentially have one coming out of the corner. Having corner dormers on this thing hadn't really occurred to me, but that might be a solid option. So let's start out with a nice easy one. We want to start with this one here, which is going to have a dormer that looks out over this direction, and that's going to be great to have a nice view of the town from up here. And we need to find the middle block, which I'm pretty sure if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think it's this block here in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so that's the 6th block in the middle. This is an 11 block long roof line, so it comes to reason that this right here is the central block. And you just need to come out a few blocks here, decide quite how tall you want your dormer to be, like so. And then all we need to do is bring it out in an arch in much the same way that we design the roof itself. So in this case, it's probably going to come down 2 blocks to either side here, and it's going to come out 1 block like this. And then finally, we're going to come down here, and we're probably going to come out a couple more. I think on the inside of this frame, we're going to have it supported by spruce logs. I want to add a few more wood accents into the roofs of the towers here, and I think spruce is a good way to do that. We'll come up here with 1 more. There we go. Bring it down over the side here so it looks a little bit more firmly supported, and we can do the same on this side as well. And considering the rest of these roof pieces kind of end with a block coming out there and going up 1, I think we'll do the same on this side as well. Now let's hop down and take a quick look at that. Yeah, not too bad. I think that's looking pretty good. This whole area with the pointy sections on the roofs and the red nether brick almost looks a little bit like World of Warcraft Horde kind of color palette. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're not going to worry too much about that. Instead, what I'm going to do is grab some glass panes and glass blocks. We'll probably go with some gray, white, or clear glass, and I think that will fit in here quite nicely. I don't think we want to go overboard with the color any more than we already have, because the roofs themselves are quite a bright color, quite vivid in terms of the roof material we've got here. So I'm not going to worry too much about having colored glass in here. We want to knock out this section here though, so that we can have a straight look into the roof here, and we could even actually bring up these bone blocks 1 block further. You could even fill the dormer in if you don't want to have some windows here, but you want a little bit more interest to your roof. We could fill that in much the same way that the other 2 sides have been filled in, with a solid material like bone block, just to give it that extra kind of, that pop of brightness in the middle of all of these darker, more saturated materials. Lucky for me, I've got plenty of glass panes, and I have a few made up of the white glass panes already, so we can put those in, give that a try. I think I might actually quite like that. I didn't expect to like that quite as much as I am. And the gray is just going to disappear. I want this window to stand out a little bit. Let's switch to the Silk Touch pickaxe so we can get those panes back. And I think white might actually take this, which is a surprise. But let's hop down and see how that looks from a distance. Yeah, I think I do like that. I think it's actually quite nice to have that instead of the clear glass, because the clear glass is just going to disappear, whereas the white glass with the slight translucency it has will at least make that pop out somewhat. Let's get a little bit more white glass panes, fill this in, and let's take another look at it from a distance. Yes. I like that a lot. I think what I want to do, though, is potentially bring in some nether brick fences and pop them down in front of this top section here. Because I feel like the arches of these roofs, while they are quite cool when they have this really steep arch, it always looks really weird with windows. I can never quite get the windows to look quite right. So maybe what we'll do is we'll frame the top part of that out in nether brick fence like that, and that will kind of conceal the top part of the window a little bit more. Can even add a little bit around the spruce wood here if we want to mask that slightly. Let's drop down and see what that looks like. Is that too detailed at this point? It might be. It might be. I don't know if I like them around there, but I do think it helps to have some stuff obscuring the top part of that glass window. Or just take that out and substitute it for some more of your roof material or some more of the spruce that we've got here. Actually, looking at it now, that spruce is continued up through the frame there, and it really makes it look like it's supporting the dormer in a nice way. That's not something I planned. It's just a happy coincidence there. Maybe we'll break those out and replace them with regular red nether brick, just in case that looks better. I don't know if that looks better or not. I tell you what, yeah, we'll compromise. We'll have one block there and one glass pane there, and that kind of takes the ridiculousness out of the height of that central glass section and allows the dormer to really look good. I'm a fan of this. I think we're going to do a couple more of those. One on the opposite side of that tower, like I said, and then definitely one in the center of the giant roof over the Great Hall. There we go. We got one roof dormer in there. It's a little bit more concealed than the others, and I didn't do the nether brick detailing over the top of those, but I like the way it looks above the door. The glass almost looks like a sort of gem or something. And imagine like the gem that appears over one of their heads in The Sims. It's kind of like that, except, you know, white instead of green. And over here on this side, we have ourselves basically an identical copy of that roof dormer over there that we can put on this side like so. And you could almost even double that up on the opposite side and have one of these kind of towers that looks like a plus shape from the top down. If you look at the kind of bird's eye view of it, you could see like a plus shape of those. And I kind of want to do that with one of the other towers, maybe have like a cross-shaped one out there on the gate, or maybe that back tower there that still doesn't have a roof on it. This tower here, I think I'm going to leave, not necessarily incomplete, but just with the kind of like, oh, what's the word for them? I forget the word now, but those kind of castle battlement kind of things where they've got gaps in between. Crenellations, is that the word? I think that's the word. Castle builders, back me up here. But yeah, I think we can work with that. We can add in a couple more roof dormers here and there, and I think I want to get working on some more windows for some of these buildings as well, because there's definitely going to be windows on some of them. They're not just going to be giant stone structures the entire time around. Aside from the archery kind of posts on these towers here, we could probably have some glass windows in some of the walls around here to let in a little bit of light, especially in the more protected buildings over here where the average person isn't going to be able to throw a rock and smash a window over there. So yeah, maybe we need to let a little light in on this castle now. Hey folks, welcome back, and we've got a bunch of windows in this place now, and it is looking really great. You can imagine light streaming in through the windows here and there in the towers and around the outsides of these buildings. I'm going to take you on a quick tour so I can show you exactly what I've done to this place, but it's starting to feel a lot more livable in here now that there are some ways that you can see out of these buildings as well as just look at them from the outside. So we're going to start off over here in this courtyard. There's not a huge amount of stuff has happened over here, and I already had a couple of windows in these walkways through these fences and stuff like that. Some of these windows are, going to be added in later. Some of this stuff I have yet to work out exactly what the architecture is going to be. But as we come around here on this building here, which I figure is probably going to be something like the soldiers' mess hall, I've added some windows in every kind of central panel of this side of the building. And obviously here it connects to the botanist's tower. We still need to put a doorway in there, but it actually starts to feel like there is a little bit of light coming in from outside. You can see how open the courtyard over here is. It's a nice place to have windows right here on the front of the building, even if it does make this doorway look a little bit like some kind of snaggletooth cartoon character. No worries. Though over here, this tower, I actually did something a little bit different. I made a checker effect in the windows, because I'm using the connected glass textures from Optifine, which means that if you make windows out of all of the same glass color, I can't get up through here, I'll get into it from the tower itself. If you're using windows of all the same glass color like this, you will notice that the panes connect and there isn't a line texture in there. But sometimes that line texture is desirable. So what I've done here is actually do a black and white glass pane check pattern, and it kind of matches quite well with the roof materials. Something about that just kind of pops out to me, and I kind of like it. Also, you can imagine if this is a castle and you think about like the symbolism in chess, you have knights and bishops and stuff all moving around a chessboard, you might imagine the same figures moving around a castle. So if you want a little bit of like pretentious symbolism to add into this, guys, there you go. Now, some people in the comments of the last episode suggested that this spiral staircase was actually oriented the wrong way, because most people in a castle like this, most of the soldiers perhaps would be right-handed, would be swinging their swords with their right hand, and to be fair, I am. I'm not left-handed, so I don't tend to invert the controls, which you can do, by the way. I'm pretty sure in the control options here, you can... It's not invert mouse. Where is it? It's in skin customization. There we go. If you go to this, you can actually change your main hand. So if you are a left-handed person, you can actually have this oriented like so. It might make a little bit more sense if you're used to using a left-handed mouse and that kind of thing, but the left and right click are still the same actions. It just maybe looks a little bit more realistic if your left hand is your dominant hand in real life. But in my case, it's not. So where did that go again? Yeah, there we go. Skin customization. Let's switch that back to the right. Anyway, what I was saying is that... when you're defending a castle like this, people pointed out that you need more room on the right-hand side to swing your sword, and attackers would come up the staircase on this side, and that would give them way more room to swing their sword, because they've got this entire space over here, whereas a defender would find themselves bashing their sword against the wall before they could get a proper swing in. So it probably makes a little bit more sense in the grand scheme of things if we want to go with a little bit of a more realistic touch, even though I haven't said I've said that's not the focus of what I plan to build here. I'm just building stuff because I think it looks pretty, but it's kind of cool to know that there are little realistic touches we can apply, and so we're probably going to rearrange this spiral staircase so it spirals to the right and I mean does in a kind of anti-clockwise direction instead of the clockwise direction it currently does. Anyway, coming up here, you can see that the checkered panels in the windows here look pretty cool from the inside, and you can still pretty much see out. You can see the horse is still over there. Oh my goodness. But as we come out here onto this little walkway, I've added in some small windows in these towers as well, and we could continue that upwards into further like ledges like this one, a few more walkways and stuff like that, so we could see out of those windows and have other things connecting to this tower, or maybe even just a ladder up the side, like this one that I'll need to use now to replace the slab that I knocked out of there. But I've done the same on this tower opposite, and if I grab an ender pearl and ender pearl up to the roof section over here, around this side I've actually put in a few windows around the side of the Great Hall. I think up here we're going to be having some kind of viewing gallery where people can look down onto the feasting below, and at the back of this particular building we're probably going to have a few higher kind of buildings, a few little kind of rooms up there in the back where maybe, I've said before that they could be like administrative offices or something like that. I think we could probably throw in something in there. A few of these other towers could probably benefit from windows as well, but I haven't gotten around to doing those quite yet. I have actually completed the big tower on that side, I think that's the western side of the castle. Yeah, that big tower that's always been there, the one that we built in terracotta at first because I wanted it to stand out against the stone cliff. Now it really does stand out, and despite it having a peaked roof, one of the kind of conical tower roofs that we've been building, I thought that was big enough that I could actually put in a couple of roof dormers on there. And so there's one that points this way, and there's one that actually points, if I fly up here with the fireworks, it actually points out towards the town. So anybody standing up in here could actually get a decent view out over the town. I don't have any means of getting into this tower yet, but this is the view they'd be getting, and it's not too bad a view. You can see all the way to Old Town from here, so that's not too terrible. Likewise, on this side of the castle, I've actually been putting in a little bit more work. That zombie's getting a look in at whatever's happening in the Great Hall, which right now is nothing. And of course, because it's nighttime, there are a few of these guys around. The building inspectors have come out, deciding to make sure everything is up to code. Now, over here on this side of the castle, I've actually been putting in a lot more work, adding in a few more details, and I like the way this section of the building over there has come together. There is a nice little row of windows, and they cascade sort of inwards a little bit because of the curvature of that building. I think that looks really nice, and I think we're going to put in a couple of different floors there for the residential area. There's going to be a couple of rooms in there with nice windows that can look out over the courtyards, that kind of stuff. Still haven't done much else with this tower, although I did try and put a little corner dormer in there like I said I was going to. Not entirely sure I'm happy with that yet, but I think I need to spend a little bit more time with that off camera, just tweaking it to see if I can make it work. Had to use full glass blocks in there because of course glass panes don't work on a diagonal, so maybe we'll give that a couple more tweaks here and there. Now, I've added some windows, some glass panes to the castle tower up here, This little kind of baby tower on the side has gotten some windows now. This one over here has a couple of windows in there, although you couldn't really see all that much from there. I think that's just going to be to make sure it has that like internal glow when viewed from the outside and to let light in during the day. And this tower over here, I've done what I said I was going to do with the plus shape of the tower cross-section from the top there, and this one is actually basically just like the same design as these other squarish roofs, but it's got dormers on both sides. So it's got windows pointing that way and that way, the east and west windows. So you could basically get the sun from all angles in this tower. And then the other sides of the building here are the sort of bone wall that I used in the other towers. So this is really starting to look nice now. And I think if I do a little bit more work on this off camera, we can probably be ready to do some interior work on this week. I think, in fact, we're probably going to do an interior episode tomorrow once I've got a few more of these buildings done off camera. But that shouldn't take too long at all. We can just follow the same formulas that we've done elsewhere in the castle, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I think it's a really, really nice build now, especially with a few more windows letting in a little bit more light. I hope you'll excuse the fact that we're doing this tour at night. I will quickly hop into bed here so that we can make it day and wrap up the episode, and you can see the castle in all its daytime glory, and hopefully all of the zombies and stuff will burn up as well. Let's do a quick fly past with the fireworks. I'm keeping half an eye on my elytra durability because I've been flying around so much that they are close to breaking, but oh yes, this is looking really, really nice. Very happy with this so far, and I hope you guys have been enjoying this. And for those of you who aren't all that keen on building episodes, don't worry. Once we're done with the castle, which will probably be wrapping up at the end of this week, and if we're not done with the castle, then we will probably be like moving on from it anyway and continuing to work on the castle kind of in the background. It's not going to be the focus of episodes beyond this week, but for those of you guys who have enjoyed the building episodes, I hope you guys like how this is coming together, because I could not be happier with it at this stage. In fact, once I'm done with this castle, I'm really, really tempted to go out and build some more castles elsewhere, but we'll probably give the castle building a rest for the time being, for this series at least. Right, that's going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.